My name is Shelley Rude-Wernick. I'm the Managing Director of Jewish Federations of North America's Center on Holocaust Survivor Care and Institute on Aging and Trauma. And we are just so excited to welcome you to this call. I am joined here by several colleagues. You probably see Amanda Jarvis toward the top of your screen. She will be presenting this training along with me. And there are several other JFNA staff who are working on the grant program, who you will probably get to know throughout this review process as well. I see Leah Bergen-Miller. Leah, if you could wave your hand. And I see other staff here. I know Abby Neft is covered. You can't see her, but she's got the little symbol. You'll be working a lot with her. Whenever you write to aging at jewishfederations.org, that goes to Abby first. Carrie Del Yaskowitz is part of our team. She's on the call too. Haley Herzog is on the call. And I think that those are all the JFNA staff that I see right now on the call. But we wanted to say hello and welcome you and thank you for joining this committee and for giving your time. Thank you in advance. Thank you for being here right now. Yes, this call is going to be recorded. So if you miss anything, you can refer back to it later. You don't have to vigorously take notes. We'll send you the PowerPoint slides that we've got here, and we'll send you the recording. So don't worry about missing something. But of course, if you have questions, we will have a Q&A period at the end, and we can certainly go back to anything that we need to. So let me begin actually just by going over briefly how this call will go. I'm going to give some background into what the grant program is and what our goals are overall, and then how this fits into your role as a reviewer and how you're helping us accomplish that mission. My colleague Amanda is going to then, and I will also go over a bit about the content of this RFP and what you're going to be reviewing. And then Amanda will go over the technical side of exactly how you will do your scoring. And then we will have time for questions and answers. So getting into a little bit about the grant background, as I mentioned, we are part of the Jewish Federations of North America. Jewish Federations of North America is an umbrella group. It's a continental umbrella group for 146, I think is the current number of federations across the country. For those who are a little less familiar, it's kind of like a United Way model where there are local independent organizations that raise money and deliver local services to people in need, and to, in our case, to foster Jewish identity and community building as well. That's Jewish Federations of North America. We are also leaders in various fields. One of those includes aging and trauma, and that's where this government grant comes in. The Administration for Community Living, which is part of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Health and Human Services, recognized Jewish federations and Jewish human service agencies' expertise, longstanding expertise in serving Holocaust survivors over the years, over decades. They want us to learn, they want the nation really to learn from what we've learned from serving Holocaust survivors about what happens to people with a history of trauma as they age. Trauma-informed care is a very, I shouldn't even say widespread, it needs to be more widespread, but it has been used in depth in many child services and family services and educational settings, less so in aging services. And the Administration for Community Living, which oversees aging services for older adults, and also oversees disability programs, recognizes that trauma-informed care would elevate the quality of care for all because trauma is so prevalent among older adults. Actually, research shows that up to 90% of older adults will have experienced at least one traumatic event in their lifetime by the time they turn 65. So when you think about that, up to 90%, that's everyone. That's not just Holocaust survivors. It's also refugees and veterans and survivors of natural disasters like floods or hurricanes, survivors of domestic violence. The list is really endless, unfortunately, of the number of events that someone can experience. And so because of this expertise that we have in serving Holocaust survivors and in learning how best to provide services as they age, which we've developed into this concept that you see on the screen, person-centered trauma-informed care. Because of that, the government is investing in us to not only continue using person-centered trauma-informed approaches with Holocaust survivors, but expand those to other older adults who have a history of trauma and their family caregivers as well. And they want us doing this in two ways, really. One is by issuing subgrants, which is where this grant program comes in that you're going to be working on, issuing subgrants to local entities to deliver person-centered trauma-informed services to their populations. And then the second part is to learn from those services and educate others in the aging network on how to provide person-centered trauma-informed care to older adults and Holocaust survivors and family caregivers as well. So there are really two halves of our work. It's the subgrant work, and then it's the education and capacity building side. What we need your help, for this cohort is on the subgrant side and helping us to select the highest quality applications that have come in for our next cohort of subgrantees. We have several different ways that we fund local subgrantees. This is one way. This is called our Innovations Program. It's our most competitive program. You might have heard of some of our other programs, but this one is it is competitive, and we try to circulate the RFP far and wide. Many of you on this call have helped us circulate that RFP. You've been volunteers for us in the past, and we really appreciate it. And as a result of this wide, broad circulation, and a result of the increased recognition that having a history of trauma does impact people as they age, we've received a record number of applications. It's actually double the number of applications than we received in the last cycle that we did this, which was 2 years ago. And so our job as reviewers, your job as reviewers we're really relying on you. It'll be really critical to help us fund the top proposals. And it also speaks to the need and the increased demand. And we hope that in the future, more funding will be available both on the federal side and the philanthropic side to be able to meet all of the demand that there is for these programs. It's always a little bit sad when we have to, draw the line and fund some agencies and not others that would have really good programs and good ideas. So a little bit of an overview of this grant program that we're going to be working on now. It's called the Innovations Grant Program. And we call it that because the government wants us developing innovative programs in person-centered trauma-informed care. I do want to go back to the slide. Can you go back to the one that talks about person-centered trauma-informed care and what that is? So this is not a treatment. Person-centered trauma-informed, a treatment could be person-centered trauma-informed, but we're talking about an approach or a mindset. This is not a therapy, a specific kind of therapy like cognitive processing therapy. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a framework used to deliver any kind of service, whether that is a service in physical health, mental health, socialization program, any kind of program or service that an older adult might need should be developed with person-centered trauma-informed principles. And those principles are written in here, and we can go over it more, but it's an approach that promotes the trust, dignity, and strength of individuals and empowers them. And it promotes this because we take into account the fact that most people have had a history of trauma while developing policies and procedures. So for example, if you have a meal program, a trauma-informed meal program, you would not, a congregate meal program where people gather, you wouldn't have a buffet line because someone with a history of trauma might be concerned that there wouldn't be enough food by the time they got to the front of the line. Instead, you'd have plated meals where everyone knew that their food was coming, and to-go boxes on the tables from the beginning. So everyone knew there'd be an expectation, there'd be an abundance of food, and you're welcome to take it home. You don't even have to ask. That's an example of an approach that is done in a person-centered trauma-informed way, anticipating that people might be coming, will likely be coming with a history of trauma. So that's what we mean by person-centered trauma-informed care. It can be implemented at the service delivery level, like the example I just named, at the staff level, meaning empowering your staff to do what they do best, creating safe spaces, that's the agency space rung, in the policy procedures like intake procedures, or even procedures involving an agency's staff. This approach can really be used for everything, and that's what the government wants us spreading. Okay, can you skip ahead back to where we were in the slides? Sorry for jumping around like this. So back in the innovation slide, one back, there we go. Thank you. A common question that we get from reviewers is what counts as innovative? And you'll see, you're going to be given a rubric. It's in the RFP if you've already had a chance to review that. You're given a rubric of exactly how to score each question that the applicant has had to answer. And one of the questions is about innovation. And we very frequently, get this question as, how do we know what's innovative? There's a lot of judgment here, right? Because what might be innovative for one agency or area might not be innovative for another. They might have been doing a long time, but for this one region or this one service population, it might be very innovative. So new to the area, or serving a different unmet need that hasn't been served before, or solving a problem in a new way, utilizing a new method. Those all can be counted as innovative, but there's a lot of judgment that will be on your end. This grant program is not meant to take the place of existing operating costs of an organization's normal course of business or their normal program. There does need to be some level of deepening or newness. Doesn't have to be a brand new program, but some new elements in order for it to be qualified as innovative. So you can find more of these more guidance like what we're about to review right now in the RFP itself, which you should have access to either through Foundant or on our web. Certainly it is on our website. I don't remember if it's linked in Foundant, which is the platform that you'll be using to do these reviews, but certainly it's linked on our website, and we can make sure to put that link in the email to you that goes out after this recording. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So in order to be eligible to have applied for one of these grants, the organization must have met certain criteria. We've screened all of these, so we are pretty sure that we're not going to send you any that are not eligible, but you can take a look and see, if somehow one got past our screening. We've actually had 2 levels of screening, but if they're not based in the United States, please flag that for us, right away, and let us know, something like that. These are the different eligibility criteria. You don't need to be screening for it because, like I said, we've already done that for you. But if you do notice something that would, make an applicant ineligible, please let us know. The applications that are coming in will be in a range of different service categories. They will be, physical health, mental health, cognitive health, social health, financial health, access to community resources. That means things like hiring a case manager to enroll people in SNAP benefits so that they can so that clients can take advantage of all different government benefits that they would be eligible for. Volunteering within the community, that would be another example of access to community resources. And family caregiver support. And actually family caregiver support is can encompass any of these things. We can support family caregivers' social health, we can support their financial health, we can support their mental health. So there's a lot of cross-cutting themes throughout the service categories that you'll see. Next slide. We do have a section of the RFP on funding limitations. It's clearly identified in there. We have asked each applicant to answer very specific questions to make it easier for you to be able to find things that are, that would not be allowed. And so it should be pretty clear. Definitely read that section on funding limitations. A direct service component for the service population is always required. Our service populations are, again, it's Holocaust survivors, older adults with a history of trauma, or family caregivers. We have another category called supporters of service populations. That would involve things like volunteers of an agency or staff of an agency. That's not the service population that we are setting out to serve. Those are supporters of the service population. We are allowed to help supporters of the service population as long as there is also a service population being helped. That's written in the RFP, so you can read more about it there. But we've asked each applicant to make sure that in outlining the different projects that they have, at least one of those projects serves a service population, one of those 3 core service populations that are the government's priority areas for us. And again, those are Holocaust survivors, other older adults with a history of trauma, or family caregivers. So if those service populations are not served in the application, then that would be something to flag. We also, as I mentioned, this program is not meant to take the place of other funding sources, so it's not funding a direct continuation of an existing project. We will not allow double dipping. What that means is some of JFNA's other grant programs may overlap in some ways with a program that's being proposed. That would not be something that's allowed. And if they mention that in their application, you would certainly want to flag that for us. We have a policy on limitations on religious activities and a policy on meals for supporters of service populations. So certainly the service population can be fed meals with this funding. But in terms of staff and volunteers being fed meals with this funding, there are limitations on that. So we've included the policies there in the RFP for you to look at. The religious limitations have to do with religious instruction. So religious instruction is never allowed. Like if someone were to have a program that says, this is how you pray, or this is how you observe this religious law, that's never allowed. But programs that speak to someone's religious or spiritual needs can be very person-centered and empowering. So chaplaincy programs, for example, are not only allowable, but they get at the heart sometimes of what this grant is going for. Meaning if you have someone who happens to have a title that is a religious title, they can still perform services. They can perform mental health services, spiritual health services, you name it, but they can't, the line is drawn there at religious instruction. This is how you do this, because this money is US government funded, and we have a clear line of separation between church and state and freedom of choice. And we want people to know that their religious observance, whatever it is or whatever it isn't, has no bearing on their ability to get services through this grant. So that's the line on religious activities. We have a new clarification in this RFP about what constitutes basic research and what constitutes income maintenance. So basic research and income maintenance are not allowed, but there are things that might get, that you might think might be research that is allowed, and you might think is income maintenance that is allowed. So for example, gift cards in certain circumstances, like food, grocery gift cards with very tight tracking and monitoring procedures built in, is allowed. That's not considered income maintenance. And those rules are written there in the RFP in section 2.2. And there's also some new guidelines on insurance and fundraising. We're basically not allowing this funding to be used for insurance, like car insurance for vans. Other things about a transportation program would be allowed, but not the insurance aspect or fundraising expenses. Go to the next slide. Also, you'll see in the RFP that all applicants are required to demonstrate a match to this grant. That match is imposed by the government. The minimum match is 25% of the total grant budget. This can sometimes be a little bit confusing to think about, because in order to calculate that match, you would take the amount of money that JF&A is awarding and divide it by 3, not by 4, because it's 25% of the total grant budget. So if JF&A is, I'm going to do some easy math here, if JF&A is giving a grant of $90,000, their match requirement would be $30,000, making the total program budget $120,000. And 30 is 25% of 120. So that's how you can calculate it. You don't have to calculate it, because our budget workbook has the calculation built in. Somehow, sometimes applicants find ways of messing up the formulas that are built in there. So something might look off, and if it does look off to you, please note that, but you shouldn't have to be doing those kinds of calculations, because it should be built in there. It is up to the subgrantees to demonstrate receipt of all of financial match funds and a specific commitment plan for in-kind contributions. Match can be made up of either source. It doesn't matter how much from one source or the other, either in-kind donations of staff time or other resources, or financial contributions. Either way is acceptable for us. And we also allow them to raise and show us overmatch, which means more resources and money beyond the minimum match requirement. It's not required. You don't get extra points for it, for having overmatch, but we do ask them to let us know if there's overmatch, because sometimes a program takes more resources to run than they have budgeted for. And we want to make sure that they'll actually be able to deliver on the program that they're proposing. Sometimes that means requiring overmatch in order to do it. So we ask them to show us that. Can you go to the next slide? We have a few, many actually, only a few expectations are listed here, but many expectations of subgrantees. To begin, these programs are to start January 1st, 2024. That's, we recognize that's a long time from now, but this review process does take some time, and there's actually various stages built into this review process, which Amanda will tell you more about. So it takes a while. We hope that this means that in their work plan that you'll see, they have their programs to start January 1st. It is a 2-year grant program. They do need to spend the entirety of their grant funds within those 2 years. So look for that in the budget. They will be expected to participate in all of our technical support activities, which means when we do trainings on person-centered trauma-informed care, when we do trainings on how to conduct a program evaluation with vulnerable clients in a person-centered trauma-informed way. That would be another example of our technical support activities. So we expect them to participate in all of those. They need to be registered in a few different government entities. We've already screened for that. If any are not, we're helping to get them through the finish line there, and sign our cooperative agreement, which is our contract with the subgrantees. The timeline, just so you're aware, for the applications and for the applications and for this review process, really, is the applicants were given this RFP. I think it was like the first couple days of February. There was an informational session that we had, a session much like this one. They had to let us know of their intent to apply, which was a simple form filling out their contact information and some eligibility criteria. They had an opportunity to ask us questions. We provided transparent answers to those questions through our website. You can see the answers to those questions on our website as well. And their applications were due on April 17th. So here we are 10 days later, and we're introducing the review committee to these applications. You'll be doing the review and the scoring of these applications. Based on your review and scoring, we will be able to separate the applicants into 2 piles, so to speak, ones that advance to stage 2, ones that don't advance to stage 2. For the ones that advance to stage 2, it is our intention to fund those applications. But there might be things about the application that you notice that need to be tightened or need to be streamlined, or maybe there's an unallowable expense in there and we need to work with them to get rid of that unallowable expense and fill it with something that is allowable. That is for JF&A staff to work with the applicant on. Once you are done with these reviews, your job as a reviewer will be done. And so we want you to, really give us everything you can in the written feedback that you're giving us, because stage 2 is really for JFNA staff to take those that advance across the finish line. We'll be announcing the awards in November and have the programs starting in January. Next slide. So there are several sections to the application that you will see and you'll have access to. One is called basic information. I'm just going to talk about this very briefly, and I know Amanda will get more into it. Please go ahead and read that basic information. One is a program questionnaire. That's the bulk of where your work and your time will be spent, answering those individual questions that they've answered about their program. There's a budget application workbook, which has several tabs. I'll show them all to you so you see what they look like. And a work plan, which also has several tabs divided by project, because many subgrantees propose to do several projects with their grants. We've also required them to provide us with financial documentation, including their full agency budget, their audits, their 990 forms, just so that we can make sure that their organization is in sound financial health and that they're not going to fold, essentially, and that they're large enough and that they have capacity to be able to pull off a grant like this. There's no cutoff line that we have of what is large enough, but we do have to have reasonable confidence that this organization is going to be financially healthy in all of its operations over the next 2 years while we're giving them government funds. You don't need to read anything about that financial documentation. That's on us to do once we know which applicants are advancing. If you want to read it, feel free, but it's certainly not required and it won't be scored. Okay, next slide. So just a little bit of details about some of the sections that you'll see in the application. This is what the work plan Excel file will look like. There's, as I mentioned, several tabs. We've asked each applicant to name their projects. Go back to the first one, actually. Do you see where it says name of project 1, name of project 2, 3, 4, 5? We've asked them to give each project a name, and they can propose up to 5 different projects, just to make it easier for you to track the answers in both the questionnaire and the work plan and the budget, to make sure that everything from project 1, whatever that one is called, whether it's called meal program or tea time, whatever it's called, just to make sure that everything is consistent. That's one of the main things we're asking you to do, actually, is make sure that their program plan, which is in the questionnaire, is consistent with the work plan, which is who does what tasks to accomplish this, and is consistent with the budget. If they're not consistent, then the project is not set up for success, and more thought would need to go into it before they're ready to implement the project. So that's tab 1. It's name your projects, make a key of which staff will be doing it, and maybe some will be new hires, some will be existing staff. All of that's okay. You can go to the next slide. And then the next few tabs are broken down by project. So we ask them to list the major objectives and the key tasks of each of those projects. So each project is listed on a separate tab, so you can really follow it through and make sure that anything that they mention in the questionnaire that they say they're going to do, they've accounted for in this work plan. They have enough staff to do in this work plan. And anything that they mention here in the work plan that they say they're going to do, or in the questionnaire, that there is money budgeted to actually accomplish that there is money for the staff, or there is money set aside for the program. So this should actually make it easier, having the separate tabs for you to track each project to make sure that the project can be implemented the way that they're describing. Okay, can we go to the next slide? This is what the questionnaire section looks like. It's a little tiny for you to see on here. Oh, I'm sorry, the budget questionnaire. The budget workbook is another Excel file. And the first tab is an overview. And then the next few tabs go through each project. Is that right? Tab 1. All right, go to the next one. Yes, yes. So you'll see each project gets its own tab. I do have some specific points that our financial oversight advisor wanted me to flag for you about the budget, just various things to look out for. So I'm going to read those for you now. If you have questions, at any point as you're reviewing proposals, we are always available to help, because I recognize it can get a little bit technical. But in terms of the budget section, and we'll put all this in the email, of course, so you don't have to worry about vigorously writing it down. But again, just review the list of items that we don't fund in the funding limitations, review that list, make sure it's not in the budget. Make sure that they request up to $5,000 in 2025, so they're year 2, to attend our training workshop. Make sure that the personnel and the full-time equivalent allocated for each task is reasonable for the project and its objectives. Make sure that the project is feasible in terms of the budget and the time frame. And also include in personnel, make sure that they've included all personnel, whether it's staff or consultants or contractors. They should all be there in personnel, and not to have any personnel expenses listed in programming. And if a subgrantee does it wrong, doesn't follow those instructions, if an applicant doesn't follow those instructions, we'll be able to work with them to make sure that they budget in the right categories. But those are things that if you notice, you can flag it in the comments for us. All right, next slide. More on the budget. Okay, and I believe that this is where my part ends, and Amanda takes over. Before I pass it over to Amanda, I say thank you again so much for volunteering for this role. We know it is a lot of time and commitment on your part, and we are really relying on your time and commitment to get this done. We've assigned you 4 proposals each, and we estimate that it takes about 2 hours per proposal to score. So on average, it's about 8 hours of work. If you like to take your time on things, it might be more than 8 hours if it takes more than 2 hours. But that's what we anticipate. We're counting, when we estimated 12 hours, we're counting this hour as one of your time in there. But we just really wanted to say how much we appreciate your time. You all are experts in your fields, and smart people who understand how to think through and analyze proposals. And that's why, we reached out to you, and our friends and colleagues reached out to you to serve in this role. And we really just want to thank you. It is the largest review committee we have ever had. In the past, we've had fewer applications and we've had fewer volunteers. This is the largest, and we're just so honored. And we have many repeat reviewers. You know who you are. So thank you for reviewing for us in the past and agreeing to do it again. I hope that speaks to how meaningful you found this experience. So thank you again. Our last cycle was actually 2 years ago. So if anyone thinks that they reviewed last year, it was actually 2 years ago. And we really appreciate your time. I see one question, so let me just answer that, and then I will let Amanda do her role. How many people will review each application? Each application will be reviewed by 3 or 4 people. That's the answer to that one. All right, take it away, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Hi there, I'm Amanda. I am so happy to be here with all of you today. As Shelley said, we so appreciate your dedication and your commitment to our cause. Because of our record number of applications, together we will be reviewing a total of 78 eligible applications, which is very exciting. If you served in the past, you may remember panel calls. This year, there will be no panel calls. There will be one optional group call midway through June, and there will be more information about that a little bit later. Because there will be no panel calls, it's so important that you include all feedback you have in the evaluation form. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The applications are going to be evaluated to determine whether they're clear, cohesive, and realistic. The applicants can propose 1 to 5 projects, but the number of projects does not influence the score. The applications include current or past subgrantees as well as new agencies that have never received center grant funding. The funding decisions that you make will influence our final funding decisions, and those will be based on the application scores that you submit, the diversity of agencies, the types of PCTI innovation that they propose, as well as trying to encourage a mix of past subgrantees and new agencies. As you're reviewing and scoring your assigned applications, please note that the applicants need to make their case in the application, so no outside research will be required. Your written feedback is so important. Once again, because there will be no panel calls, there are opportunities for comments throughout the evaluation form. If it's applicable, we've indicated in the application if there have been any past compliance issues from a previous subgrantee, and I'll go over where you can find those comments, but you won't need to do any outside research. There is a basic information section at the top of the application, and that does not require scoring, but may help you get a deeper understanding of the agency and the type of services that they provide. If, as you are starting to score an application, you discover a previously unknown conflict of interest, don't fret, just let us know and we will reassign. This is the stage 1 of this application process, which is the most important stage, and that's what we are recruiting you to help us with. As Shelley mentioned, stage 2 will be handled by JFNA staff. And if you write any questions, recommendations, concerns in your evaluation, JFNA will use those if the applicant transitions to stage 2. It's notable that stage 2 will not be a second chance. The applicant will need to make their case in this stage 1 of the application. And stage 2 is really for a strong application to become even stronger and more solidified based on your feedback. Here is a rough timeline / time information for you as you are working through the evaluation process. You can start accessing your assigned applications starting today. And a couple of slides after this, I will discuss how to access those assigned applications. We are going to send weekly reminders. We strongly suggest not waiting until the last week to begin your reviews because it will get very overwhelming. And please take note that June 8th is the last day to submit any application scores and comments. Before I discuss the technical component, does anybody have any questions about the grant overview or about your role as a review committee member? Since I don't hear any questions, feel free to add any questions you have into the chat, and I will move towards the technical training overview. And again, this is being recorded and we are sending out the recording. You are not alone in this process at all. Our evaluation is going to be completed in Foundant, which is a software program. This is where the applicant has submitted their application. And we've created accounts for all of you already, or you already have accounts because you reviewed in the past. So to begin, you're going to click the Forgot Your Password button because we have already created accounts for all of you. And so then you'll use that to reset your password using the same email address that you used in your conflict of interest form. That's very important. And if you experience any issues logging in at all, please reach out to us at aging@jewishfederations.org, and we will help you as soon as possible. Upon resetting your password and accessing the system for the first time, you will land on the dashboard. The next slide is going to be a short video. I ask that you please be patient, watch the video, and it answers so many questions, and I will go over the content of that video after that. Can everybody hear? No.
No.
Oh, no. My apologies.
Hello and welcome to the evaluation tutorial. In this video, we'll step you through
Is that still not working?
Perfect.
Oh, it works now. Great. Thank you so much.
how to complete your assigned evaluation. After logging into the site, locate the evaluation you want to work on and click Start, Continue, View, or Update. The action word you see depends on the status of an evaluation. For example, you'll start a pending evaluation that you haven't worked on yet. You'll continue a draft evaluation that you previously started, and you can update an evaluation in which you've already completed the required question. This brings you to your assigned evaluation form for the grant or scholarship request. Information is available at the top of the page about the request, the applicant, and the organization for a grant request. If an administrator has uploaded any documents or entered comments about this request, they can be viewed here. You can download a PDF of your evaluation and responses by clicking Evaluation Packet. Click Application or LOI Packet to download a PDF of the form you're evaluating. If the applicant uploaded documents as part of their form responses, you can view all these documents in one place by clicking Document Viewer. An individual document can also be viewed by clicking the eye icon next to it. In most sites, you'll see your evaluation form on one side of the screen and the form you're evaluating, either the LOI or application, on the other. Click the arrow icons to flip the order of these forms if you'd like. You can also drag the dotted line to make one side bigger or the other side bigger. If you're evaluating the application form, but the request also contains an LOI, you can click the form type to view the LOI for reference if you'd like. Some sites do not utilize the side-by-side view, in which case you'll see two tabs, and you can click between the form you're evaluating and your evaluation form that way. On your evaluation form, required questions are indicated with an asterisk. As you fill out the form, the system auto-saves your work every 100 characters you type or as you click out of a question, but you can always click Save as well. Depending upon the site, you might see a share icon available next to the evaluation question. This allows you to see other evaluators' responses to the questions when this feature is enabled. When you're finished working on the form, click Save. This brings you to a confirmation page, which will list any required questions you haven't yet answered. You can click Return to Evaluation if you need to go back to the same evaluation. Click Next Pending Evaluation to move to the next incomplete evaluation in your assigned list, or click Return to Dashboard to go back to your full list of assigned evaluation. Even after you've completed all the required questions for an evaluation, you can edit your responses up until the site administrator closes evaluations for the request. As you work on your evaluations, please reach out to the organization's administrator if you have any specific questions. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for your patience with the video. I hope that was helpful. And we have enabled side by side so that you will be able to see side by side the application that you've been assigned and the evaluation form. It will look almost identical to what was shown on the video, sans any watermarks. So just to go over briefly a little bit of the basic information about how to start evaluating your assigned applications. On your dashboard, as they showed on the video, you will see all the applications you've been assigned. Everyone on this call has been assigned anywhere between 3 and 4 applications. You may start with any of the assigned applications. You don't have to go in order, and you'll click Start on the right side of the screen to begin reviewing. You'll see the application and the evaluation form side by side. As shown in the video, the comments tab at the top you can use to read any additional information about the applicant. We do ask that you just take a quick peek at the comments tab to see if there are any notes about their previous performance. You won't need to access the LOI packet, but the application packet can be used to download a PDF of the form that you're evaluating. And you can use the document viewer to view all documents that the applicant has uploaded as part of their form response. You can use the eye icon, it looks like a little eye, to view an individual document uploaded by an applicant, and click Save at the bottom of the page when you're finished working on an evaluation. There is an autosave function. I believe it saves after every 100 characters or so, but it's really good practice to click Save so that all of your notes, all of your scores are preserved. What if I need help? So if you need any assistance regarding the content of the application or of the evaluation form, please reach out to us at aging@jewishfederations.org, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. If you're having any technical issues, here's the link to that video that we just went over. And there's also verbiage on that page further down to support any technical issue you might have as an evaluator. If you need any additional technical assistance from Foundant, simply go to foundant.com, and on the homepage, you'll see the Chat Now box on the bottom right, and you can use that to access somebody from their tech support team. And again, if you have any issues with any of these items, just email us at aging@jewishfederations.org, and we will help you. I'm going to now pass the mic back to Shelley for any questions and for the wrap up. Thank you all so much for being partners in this, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you.
Thanks so much, Amanda. We have one question that's come up in the chat already. Has the link to Foundant been sent out yet? Amanda, you want to take that one?
Sure. I believe that it has. I believe that it was sent out this morning. If you're having any trouble accessing it, please reach out. We will help you. We will walk you through it. We can arrange for a phone call. We can do email. We want to help you help us. So just let us know if you need anything. But yes, you can access all of your assigned applications right now if you wish. And the link is in the email that we sent out this morning.
So does anyone have any questions about their role in this process or the task at hand, or about our grant program overall? You can really ask anything. We're pretty open and pretty friendly. Most communications that you received will be coming from the email address aging@jewishfederations.org. aging@jewishfederations.org. So please go ahead and, if you can, unjunk aging@jewishfederations.org, or add it to your favorites list, or however it is that you manage to receive good emails from emails that sometimes your system may block. Please be on the lookout for aging@jewishfederations.org. And if you have any questions at all, that's the best email address to write to us to get the quickest response. You can always write to aging@jewishfederations.org. Yeah, we're going to resend everything, along with the recording of this call, the PowerPoints, the instructions for Foundant. You'll get it all by email. Any other questions about their role or the task or this program? We we're counting on you to help us with this part. Your role is very important. We have so many applications, and we really rely on your help to get us through this process. If you anticipate that you won't be able to complete your reviews by the deadline, please let us know now. And I hope that you all will. And we've provided transparent information about what, how much time we anticipate this taking at the most from you. But if you think that this is not the role for you, the volunteer role, and we know you're all volunteers, if you think this is not the role for you at this time, please let us know now, because it will be easier for us to reassign your proposals now than it will be later on, giving someone else, an added proposal to score, at the 11th hour if someone can't do it. So please start your reviews now. Like Amanda said, I think it's, you have 6 weeks to do it and 4 proposals to score. So that's less than 1 a week. So if you do 1 a week, I think that's a good pace. Having gone through this review cycle several times before, I can tell you that most reviewers do wait until the last week to do it. And I think that's stressful for you, as well as for us, because we do worry that, maybe something went wrong and it's, it's not going to work out. So please try and pace yourself and aim for, doing 1 review a week between now and the deadline. Any other questions before we wrap it up?
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I have a question.
Please.
I think a lot of people use terms, but you guys are very specific about the person-centered trauma-informed model. And, of course, it's talked about a lot. Resiliency is talked about a lot. Do you have any specific documentation that you use in your practice that we can look at?
Tons. Go to agingandtrauma.org. And under resources, you will see printed materials, you'll see past webinars. There's actually a lot in the RFP itself. So there's a section for applications that says call for applications, and you can see the RFP there. We put a lot of information so that the applicants know where to find the information and know where to find the language that we use. It's not a requirement that they start using consistent language now in their application. There's no question, there's no scoring about that, but certainly, if they do their research in writing their proposal, they would use the resources that we've provided. And we also have a resource bibliography where you can find a lot more information about person-centered trauma-informed care.
Thank you.
And thank you for asking that question. I'm glad you want to learn. That's a really good segue to let you know that we're this committee that you're participating in, you're engaging with us, and we're inviting you to join us in our mission of making the person-centered trauma-informed approach the universal strategy for all of aging services. That is our goal. And by virtue of being part of this committee, you are helping us to spread that message, to spread that awareness, to spread the methodology of person-centered trauma-informed care to make it universal. We are always looking for new partners in this cause. We're actually hosting a large conference and training workshop in Dallas in just a little over a week, and we're going to be spreading our knowledge even further to aging services providers. But we invite you to join us in that and let us know if there are people who in your fields that we should talk to. Maybe there are other experts in aging or experts in trauma that we should connect with that we might want to feature on a webinar or bring to our next conference. Or maybe of other foundations that would be wanting to engage in this work and wanting to make their grantees more well-versed in the person-centered trauma-informed approach. If you have any partners or anyone else, we're always looking to grow, always looking to make friends and present at new conferences and help spread the knowledge that we're learning from these grantees. As I said at the beginning, part of what we do is educational initiatives. So
Sure.
if you know of people who want to come to our webinars, you are invited to every single webinar we now offer, and you're all going to be on our mailing list. If you don't want to, let us know, but we're going to keep inviting you. And please, share that with people who you know in this field, because you're some of our best ambassadors for the cause. So thank you for that. And
Shelley,
yeah.
this is Sherry Aviv. Hi, I'm not on camera. I'm sorry, I might have missed it, but if our evaluations have to be in by June 8th, I don't know if I understand what the June 13th is. Because
That's
it's
what I
the
was
day
just going to get to.
after, so it's kind of confusing.
You read my mind. So in the past, for those of you who are repeat reviewers, we have held phone calls so you can discuss verbally these proposals with us. We're not doing that this year. We've eliminated that. All the feedback you're going to give us will be written. Hopefully that saves you some time. But we also recognize that a side benefit of those calls was the opportunity for you to engage with other reviewers and with us and talk to us about, others, foundations or other experts, and just get excited and jazzed about the content together with other people who are going through this process with you. We don't want to lose that engagement element. And so we've added this optional phone call, June 13th. It was actually at the suggestion of our government funder. We asked him, what can we do to maintain that engagement aspect, which our reviewers really appreciated. And the suggestion was let's have a group phone call at the end, or Zoom call, where we can talk about not elements of specific proposals, but talk about what this process meant for you. What did you learn? What more do you want to learn? What topics should we offer in trainings? What were some common themes that you noticed in these proposals? What's the demand in the field? Even for ones that scored low, if you happen to notice some trends, like organizations really need help with this type of service or that type of population, that's wonderful feedback that we would want to know that's not going to be included in your written reviews. And so we want to get that feedback from you. And we also want you to have the opportunity to engage with each other, learn from each other's experiences and backgrounds on how you approach this concept. That's what the optional group call is for on June 13th. It should be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I have a fun definition of fun. Any other questions? Okay, well, we will send all of this information out. I am very excited that we still finished in 60 minutes. Thank you all for your patience and for coming to this review committee party, as I called it at the beginning. It's so wonderful to see so many friends and familiar faces and new friends who will become familiar faces. Really appreciate your time today and throughout the next 6 weeks. Any questions at all, please contact us. And thank you again. Have a great day.